Happy morning to all of you on this Thursday, the 12th of May, 2016. I would like to not formerly, but formally endorse this book, The Path, Autobiography of a Western Yogi. The new version in a trade version is called The New Path by Swami Kriyananda. I consider this one of the 5 best books that I've ever read, and it is absolutely fantastic in terms of what it shares from the perspective of Swami Kriyananda, Donald Walters, who passed on in 2012, of his relationship with the Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, and the spiritual path and journey that he walked, which really relates to all of us. This is a textbook on the path for initiates. It gives so much important information on the testings of our souls, the insights into the spiritual path vis-a-vis a true guru, and in terms of what we as devotees and lovers of God can invest our energies in order to reach self-realization, get off of the rounds of rebirth on this planet, and ultimately make our ascension in the light. An entire course could be taught from this book, and I recommend that all of our book study groups consider this book after the Afra book as the next book that you all read, even before the one by Anthony William, because I believe this is crucial to our understanding of where we are right now on the earth and how we can make progress on our path. So I desired to get that kind of off my chest because I've been really going deep within as I've been reading this book, which was loaned to me by Ken Mueller a few months ago, and assessing many, many things about my life, my relationship with all of you as a spiritual teacher, and how we together as a community can really move forward into the next phase of our work together on behalf of the Universal White Brotherhood. As I heard El Morya speaking through me yesterday, I was very moved, and I have to say that this was one of the most difficult heartstrings for me to ever release. I did not feel a lot of radiation, especially at the beginning. It became greater and greater later in the message. He had me keep my eyes open during virtually the entire message and looking directly at the camera, because I believe this was a message for many, many people to come in future years and decades of our movement, to give them a sense of what our mission and vision is. I did have the printed out version of the mission and vision so that I wouldn't stumble on his behalf. I had it right before the camera. Yet, I do hope that we listen to this and watch it again and take notes and study it and really assimilate it. I know Catherine was planning to play it today, yet we can play it another time. As I listened to what El Morya was sharing through me, there was a shift, a definite shift in my awareness, as well as what I perceive to be our collective awareness. And this shift causes me to really assess everything. everything that I do, how I do it, why I do it. I know that motive is always the most important thing to ask ourselves. Why do we do what we do? And I've shared over and over again during these last 12 years that we do things because we love God. We love God with all of our heart, our mind, our strength, and our soul, and obedient to the great command and the great commandment. So if we find ourselves at any time doing things for any other reason, we have to self-assess. If we find that we are doing things to, in some way, be honored by others, then our motive is not pure. We're doing things for show rather than for deep reasons of fulfilling God's plan through us, God's will, God's love and wisdom. I know that all of you primarily do what you do because you desire to be of service, be loving, kind, generous, considerate, and honorably discharge your duties with grace, with harmony. As I contemplated the work that we collectively did, both in Los Angeles at the expo there and then again in San Mateo last week, I found that we can be of service to others in a very direct way through these blessings, which are miraculous. And of course, tonight I'll be sharing a darshan with those who attended the San Mateo Expo to provide more insights for them as to the path. And these very direct personal exchanges are important for the light of the Masters to dawn within the lives of some individuals who require this impulse, this initiatic light to move through their being. Yet I also find that in looking at this, many people think that they're coming for a reading. And in a sense, they're reaching out to someone who they at least temporarily recognize as being able to provide this insight for something outside of themselves, when often the Masters direct and redirect us to go within, to find everything of God within ourselves. I'd like to read to you just a very short excerpt from this book, The Path, or now The New Path, Autobiography of a Western Yogi, because I think it gives us pause to consider a number of things. Raindrops fall to earth, play their countless separate dramas, then rise to fall again in endlessly repeated cycles. Similar is the tale of each soul. Through unnumbered cycles of return, we refine our understanding till we become convinced to our very depths that the fulfillment we are seeking is already ours in the bliss of our own being. Why should it take so long to make such a simple discovery? Why is it so difficult to realize that earthly pleasures are but reflections of our inner joy? Alas, in a house of mirrors, one is less inclined to introspect. The reflections are too fascinating. If one gives thought to oneself, it may be only for the sake of changing those reflections. With human life, similarly, the reflections of our inner joy that we perceive in outward fulfillments are simply too tantalizing. Many lifetimes pass, usually, ere we realize that our fascination has been with mere images and that we have been living in an unreal world. Naturally, when a soul achieves final emancipation, ending its long cycle of incarnations, its joy and victory is so overwhelming that it feels no desire to return to this earthly dungeon. Even the spiritual hunger of other seekers can't suffice to lure it back. For such a soul feels, justifiably and surely, that after untold millions of years in bondage, it has a right to claim its hard-won reward of eternal bliss. Only a few extraordinary souls, having once earned their freedom, postpone the perfect enjoyment of it to return to this dark plane and lead other struggling mortals out of delusion into light. Of such rare souls, Paramhansa Yogananda is a shining example. Indeed, even among those few, it must be the exception who promises to come back, if need be, 1,000,000,000,000 times. Yogananda's compassion simply staggers the imagination. Devotees sometimes ask, do souls that have been born on this earth keep reincarnating here? Master's reply, when once I posed this question to him, was, no, there are innumerable planets to go to. He added, if they returned always to the same one, they might find out too quickly. Divine perception, in other words, must be earned. It is not the plot of this cosmic drama for wisdom to be thrust upon man uninvited. He must employ the sword of discrimination himself. The house of mirrors must lose its fascination for him because he has seen through its tricks, and not merely because, by constant repetition, the reflections have ceased to interest him. In one respect, however, the soul does tend toward a long repetition of outward associations in its relationships with other souls. An example may help here. In the nebulous gases of infinite space, the atoms drift about at great distances, the average is several miles, from one another, much too far for their gravitational fields to attract one another. Yet if two atoms appear to drift together, their combined field makes it easier for them to attract a third. For three, it is still easier to attract a fourth. Thus, an occasional ball of matter may keep on growing until its gravitational field at last encompasses a radius of many millions of miles. At some point in this process, a mighty explosion will occur, as nebulous gases from vast distances get sucked inward. The gravitational force of this huge mass becomes so great that changes occur within the structure of the atoms themselves. A shining star is born. The soul, similarly, in its gradual progress toward divine wisdom, develops the gravitational power by which it attracts and holds the understanding it requires for enlightenment, until at last, in the firmament of living beings, it becomes a veritable star. Now, this sounds like what El Moryo's teaching is in Advanced Studies of the Human Aura. The whole crux of the book is that we are solar beings in our true reality. We are already that in our higher self. And when we awaken to this self-realization that we are sons and daughters of God as SUNS, sons, and we clothe ourselves in light, as Mother Mary did, the woman clothed with the sun, and as we imbibe that pure stream of awareness from the Divine One and engender this soulful living throughout all of our days, that we literally transmute ourselves by God's grace alchemically into a sun. This is the next evolutionary phase of our existence, to be these suns, fully consciously aware that we are that, rather than being ignorant of it in our current state. I remember the Divine Director gave a message through the summit in a keeper lesson all about visualizing ourselves as the sun, as a spherical being. So the teaching has been there through many dispensations. It's just that we haven't fully cognized it and used meditation and used the light and used this new reference point of beingness to allow this majestic and miraculous manifestation of our true solar reality to shine forth. And I heard El Morya say it yesterday through me again, that the shifts that are occurring are moving us into this higher state of beingness, and that we have to learn and relearn and learn again and again how to maintain this state of being. And when the shift occurs where we can always maintain that, then the victory is nigh. And then we, of course, have to retain humility, true humility, and complete surrender to the divine to allow this miraculous manifestation of our being to be sustained. Now, Lanello asked our staff to write their short autobiographies. And these were due last night by 7 p.m. and many people did send them in. Some had sent them in per the original assignment months ago, quite a while, and some have been sharing these on Thursday mornings. So we didn't have anyone quite ready to do that today. Yet beginning next Thursday, I am praying that these will occur again, because it's important for us as a community of light to know one another, and through knowing one another to love one another in an even greater way. And this love is the cohesiveness that, like this passage that I read, allows the atoms of our members, and by members, even though we don't have outer membership or affiliation, the membership is heart friends, those who resonate one with another within our sacred community. This magnetism of this love allows the cohesiveness of our community to be there and to grow. And so the more we know a little bit about the story, the history of one another, the more we can have compassion, the more we can revel in our sameness as well as our uniqueness, the sameness of what we have endured on our spiritual journey and path, and the uniqueness of how we individually have accessed our God nature, studied, discovered the teachings, the true teachers, the ascended masters, and decided, first and foremost in our lives, to put this sacred journey front and center so that we can come to that point of full self-realization, enlightenment, and oneness with the divine. So as we share these wonderful stories, which I've been privileged to read many of them yesterday and even early this morning, I think that we will have the building of this energy field, this solar essence of our community. And people will be drawn and magnetized because they may relate to what many of us have been through, having found different teachers, teachings, having gone through all kinds of initiations and stumbled at times here and there. I received one of these testimonies and biographies from a wonderful heart friend, and I won't reveal the person's name, yet this person was very humble in admitting mistakes that he or she made. And in the admittance, through humility, true humility of this, we all find kind of a new mooring in reality and in leaving off of duality. So thank you for allowing me to share for these few moments here. I will be speaking at 2:30 on behalf, or Jesus will dictate through me at 2:30 Mountain Time through our broadcast from Barcelona. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, tonight at 7:30 Mountain Time, a special 1-hour darshan with newly found heart friends from the San Mateo Expo. So God bless. Have a wonderful day and take care.